Spiritual capitalism is based on the realization that the inner lives of people is what brings us success. In other words, that you can modify your psychology to be successful. Now, on this channel, I'm going to do a series of interviews with people that I respect, people that pursue the dream. So in a minute, I'm going to show you an interview I recently did with the actor Andreas Lyon. Andreas and I we're not old friends, but we are friends. I met him here in Los Angeles, where I live. But he recently traveled back to Denmark, where we're both from. And I remember thinking when he told me that, that's it, it's game over, he's not going to be acting anymore. But I was completely wrong, and that is really awesome. And Andreas and I have a talk about what it takes to become an actor. But I just want to say to everybody out there who's seeing this and listening to this, that even though you're not pursuing acting specifically, I think almost everything we talk about in this little conversation we have can be transferred to other fields. Every single other field that lies outside mediocrity, outside normality, can probably be this can probably be applied to. So all that being said, please subscribe to Spiritual Capitalism. Spiritual capitalists are in pursuit of success and the extraordinary. All that said, please enjoy the interview.
That old hunt.
The hunt, right? But that's what I want to know. That's what I want to ask you about. That's what people want to know, is you're pursuing acting. And I was really impressed. So when you went back to Denmark, I thought, right, that's it. He's not gonna, he's gonna abandon the dream. But that's not the case at all, is it?
No, it's interesting that you're saying this because yesterday I was in acting class and I told them that I was going to come to the podcast today.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, so what are you going to talk about?" I said, "Well, I kind of want to talk about dreaming and and the pursuit of dreams."
Right.
And also what happens, when you stop pursuing the dream continues.
Right.
So the interesting thing is, actually by stopping the pursuit doesn't necessarily mean that the dream dies. It could actually be exactly what the dream needs.
Well, okay, so you have to elaborate on that. Well,
so
it all makes
basically-
sense right up until the point where you said
Right.
it could be the reason why.
No, but
right?
so the whole
What
idea
it
is that you have
means.
you have a dream, right? So you
Right.
have a dream, you have something, an image of something, of you've concocted, or you're building it on an idea or of memory of experiences that you had, or the idea of experiences that you want to pursue.
Right. Right.
And so pursue is a key word because that has nothing to do with the dream. That only is technically, how am I going to get to that?
Right.
Do you know?
So you distinguish between the pursuit
And the
dream.
Yeah. So what I said was,
that's
if you
interesting.
give up the pursuit of the dream, that may be exactly what the dream needs
Right.
to flourish.
So
So the dream could come, and for me, obviously, my experience of the dream, or of living my dream, of making my life come true to the potential that it has, is that I experience it in these sort of there's like small glimmers of it all the time. It's not
phases.
Huh?
Phases.
Yeah, phases. You could say like a phase, like I'm in this phase or that phase. You could call it that. I think that's actually a pretty good word, because phase is like, you say it's sort of like. Well, I suppose it's sort of like.
It has a beginning and an end.
It has a beginning and an end, but it's also a way of saying that, okay, so I'm in phase 1, I'm in phase 2, I'm in phase 3, and 4, 5, 6, and so on and so on and so on. And you could even subdivide those phases too, to say, oh, these are all like small, steps in the journey.
Right.
In the development of something. Say a butterfly, right? Comes, the worm goes into the cocoon, and then it's in that, well, we call it stage, right, in biology.
Right.
But basically, it's the same thing. It's a different period of time when you're in a certain phase, like now you're here in this beautiful location. I gotta say, beautiful place that you live. You know, Asker. I'm thinking you're living the dream here. So,
It's just a phase.
well,
I'm living a dream. I am living
yeah.
a dream.
Yeah.
But I wanna try and wrap my mind around what you're saying, because so when I moved to the U.S., right, I honestly I just moved here because of Emma, right, because of my wife, or she wasn't my wife at the time, but I knew that, you know, a lot of new opportunities are going to present themselves, but I was waiting for the legal work to come through. I was waiting for my green card, essentially, right, and that's just a waiting process. And I was passing time, you know, I took a degree online and stuff like that, but you're not allowed to work. So one day she just suggested to me, why don't you take up acting again? Because I used to pursue it just a tiny little bit back in Denmark, you know, years ago, like 12, 15 years ago, something like that. And then I was like, yeah, I guess I could do that or look into it. And I did a couple student movies, and, you know, before I knew it, you know, the paperwork had come through, and you know, I did another slightly bigger project, ran into an agent or got a reference from someone to an agent, and then all of a sudden it just grew and grew, and things worked out. But I remember thinking, and I've had this conversation with other actors, I remember thinking, one of the reasons I have an edge when I enter the audition room, because I haven't dreamt my entire life about becoming an actor. It's not the only dream I have. It's not something that I need to be complete, if you know what I mean. And I felt like that gave me an edge. But that being said, right, so once my acting career, I'm still at a very early stage in my acting career, to be perfectly honest, right? But these days, sometimes a role, an audition.
You have been
kicks
pursuing
in.
it for years, and you know, I know you to be active and out there, and I've seen the work that you do.
Right.
So, in an early stage or not, you know, sure, you could call that. But still, we have actors that have been working for 30 years that say they're still learning. So
Right,
you know,
no, learning. I don't think the learning ever stops.
I don't
right?
think so. So you know,
Right.
in that sense.
But I guess my point
Yeah.
was just, the point I was trying to make was, I really had that feeling when I entered the audition room, because that's what it's about. It's about nailing the damn auditions, right? Essentially.
Well, yeah. But now we're moving into another
Right,
question.
right.
Exactly.
No, I don't think we
That's
are,
a good-
but maybe. But let me just wrap it. So, but I used to have this feeling that, you know what? Honestly, I don't really need this role. I just enjoy being here in this foreign country. I'm going to auditions in Hollywood. You know what I mean? That was part of the adventure, in and of itself.
Yeah.
And of course you could say, oh yeah, that's just something you it's like after the fact rationalization, trying to make it look as if you didn't really care about whether you landed the role or not. But I do think that back then that's actually how I felt. It wasn't that important to me. But these days, sometimes I get an audition, I'm like, I want this role. I almost want to say I need this role, if you know what I mean. So I don't have that anymore. But is that like a similar thing psychologically that you were talking about before, that your acting needed, your dream needed you to take a step not back but to the side, or?
That's a really interesting question, because I think that, and I have a lot to say about that. First of all, I think when you're traveling in this sense that I'm talking about it, I think that traveling is more than just actually going from point A to point B, but also you're traveling in the sense that, you're taking up a new profession, or you're doing something new for the first time. There's a certain energy because you are new, you know that you're new, and most people around you also know that you're new.
Right.
So it's okay to fuck up.
Right.
And so
takes away the
pardon my
pressure.
French, but it's okay to make mistakes, and that takes away the pressure for everyone. So they know that, okay, that's funny the way that Aska did that. Obviously he's not trained or anything, but he's so natural because
maybe
you're just allowing yourself to do that. So well, I think you need to see it and realize what it is.
Right.
See it for what it is, and say that that's excellent. So so we, for instance, if we take it to another level, we have this year in the Oscar race, we have two movies in the Oscar race. One is Roma, and another one is this is horrible, right? I can't even remember.
No, I
the
don't
movies.
even know.
There's a
I've
movie.
heard of the Oscars.
It's this guy
obviously.
Bradley Cooper thing.
Right.
A Star is Born. Here we go.
Right. Okay, I've heard of that.
So
Right.
in The Star is Born, there's the lead female role is played by Lady Gaga.
Right.
And everyone is raving about how good she is at playing and acting and doing her thing. And it's impressive. She really is good. She really is good for a first time in that field. She has never done acting before, right? She's a musician, a well-known star. And then you have another film. It's called Roma, which is made by Alfonso Cuarón, which is also in the Oscar race.
Uh-huh.
And there is a female lead in there, Yalitza Aparicio. Most people haven't even heard of her.
Right.
Well, turns out she has never done acting before. She was a teacher, just a regular person, but to play this part, Cuarón needed someone like her.
Right.
Just as Cooper needed someone like Lady Gaga. However, I haven't heard anybody raving about her, even though she is phenomenal.
Right. Right.
Phenomenal. So you have, and because she brings in this sort of, and it's the feel you get of this innocence, of this very, very natural
unique authenticity.
Authenticity that's
Right.
there, I think, when it's the first time you're doing something.
Right.
And so the interesting thing is, you could say it's the first time ever Yalitza Aparicio is on movies or film or in this
Right.
world, while Lady Gaga has been on camera like a million times, right?
Right.
Watch out for the spiders.
There was a bee.
Bango spiders.
Right. Yeah.
So, but still, I think Lady Gaga has traveled within her universe of expressivity,
Right,
of
right,
creativity
right.
by going into that.
Obviously.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So,
she has been,
And
if not been, she
Yeah.
hasn't been an actress, but she's been acting. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So
performing and acting.
yeah, performing, right? So this is first time as an actor without the costumes crazy and all the.
Right. Okay, but I'm guessing. I know the people that watch this channel are not necessarily pursuing acting, but I know some of the audience of this channel are pursuing the creative arts.
Don't
No, don't tell them that. No, but that's
Too dangerous.
But what's the takeaway for people interested in this field specifically or a similar field? Or like, what's the takeaway? Because then what you just said is basically that yes, maybe you have an edge when you start the early stages of this journey, right? But that doesn't really help people, does it?
Well, I guess my point is, you have to have the dream be fresh, right? It has to be as if it's happening for the first time.
Right.
Because the closer you can get to it happening for the first time, the more of that energy you have. The more those things happen, the way that you described it. Oh, you know what? It was really fun. I booked all these auditions because I didn't know anything, you know.
So you
but
don't
now
think
that
hunger? I'm sorry.
Just let me finish the
Sure,
thought.
sure.
But now you're saying, oh, when I go in and I need it, it's much harder for me to book it,
Right.
right?
What,
So what happens
okay.
is when you lock in on that, that need and that want, once we start reaching out for it, because we get a sense of what it is, and we get a sense of our place here, and we say to ourselves, okay, this isn't my first time doing this. I'm going to do it a second time. Notoriously, by the way, when you do plays, the second day of the play is always low energy because that's when people have spent it all on the first day.
Right,
They think that it's going to be easy to do it again, right?
Resting on the laurels.
Resting
kind
on
of.
the laurels. So exactly. So I think it is about making the dream become fresh again, and in that context, the pursuit of the dream can actually get in the way because the pursuit is also, it has an element, it can have an element of grasping, of reaching out, of wanting, of needing.
Yeah.
And so if you want that, if you're grasping out to get it, you're already impeding yourself the natural reflection, the natural circumstances of letting the environments color you as well. So when I left LA, which I did for family reasons, went back to Denmark, I pretty much knew inside myself that by then I've been in the game of acting quite a bit more than you, I think, like
Right, you have.
time wise. So for me, I identified, I think because of that, I identified stronger with that, and I knew that I wasn't gonna just let it go, but I wasn't sure exactly what shape it would take. So when I went to Denmark, it was very new to me.
Right.
Coming back and seeing, okay, what's happening
Yeah, you
here?
don't really know the scene.
I don't know
there,
anything.
Right. Yeah.
So I did stuff that I actually would never do back here, which was interesting because
Like
here,
what?
like I would go straight to the casting director's office, which is a no-no.
Without
Without any you know,
flowers or
no,
without any
not without an appointment.
Right.
Right? So I would just go there and I'd be like, well, I just want to say hi. And I think it came sort of with a mixture of confidence with me having my experience, but also just a kind of curiosity because I hadn't been there before. I hadn't done anything there. And I was like, that is fun. This is fun, you know, to go out and try and rediscover it all again. So in that sense, I'm huge on opening up to new markets and not be afraid to go out. If there's if I feel like I'm stagnating, if I feel like there's there's dead muck in the pool,
Right.
I think it's great to travel and go out and start new places because you'd be surprised what happens.
No,
you know,
I agree
like.
with that. Right.
Like I'd been in Denmark for half a year and then I decided I could see I had some problems with the Danish acting union. They were sticklers about certain paperwork
Right.
and exactly how much I'd been earning and how much I'd done. And the last couple of years I was in LA, I wasn't very active. So despite me having been member of Screen Actors Guild for more than 5 years, they didn't allow me in the union in Denmark.
Right.
And I wasn't really put off because I just thought, okay, I'll just play other markets.
Sure.
So I went to Ireland for 5 days and I said, I'm just going to go to Ireland and see what happens here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, there were a lot of beers.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got drunk. Obviously.
I got me some Guinness. I just
Ireland.
sat at the pub, drank a easy day.
Right. But it re-inspired
No,
you?
but actually what happened, so what I did was I just went crazy. I just said, I'm going to go out to all the Irish schools and tell them that I'm an actor and an acting coach, and we'll see
Right.
what,
Which is true.
Which is true.
Right.
This
Just for
is
the
true.
record.
100%, like bona fide.
Right.
So I went out and nothing happened from that. Then they have an organization called Spotlight, which is basically just it's sort of a link between casting directors and actors, a catalog which used to be a book, but which is now an online service.
Right.
Where actors sign up and they through this service they can submit themselves to the casting directors who are looking for actors for various projects for
Right.
television.
Right.
Film.
All right.
Just for the people out there that don't know that how the industry works. So they had an event like a mixer, and I met an actress there that had interest in going to LA, and I said, anything you want to know about, I'm here for the next 3 days. You want to sit down and have coffee? Anything I can do to help you, let me know. And she actually wrote me an email and said, hey, I actually do have questions. Could you meet up? We sat down. Lovely girl. She wanted to go to LA. She had the idea of going for 3 months. And I said to her, and the problem was whether or not, she could afford going for such a long time and how much it would cost her.
Right.
And knowing how expensive LA is and knowing, she disclosed a little bit about, what her living standards were and how much she was earning and stuff.
Right.
I suggested to her, you know what, I think it's better that you go for 3 weeks, but make those 3 weeks like
Make
a
them
blast.
count.
So you
Right,
know what I mean?
right,
Make them
right.
count and then come back. And then you can regroup when you come back because you'll get plenty of impressions in 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah, that makes
She
sense.
ended up taking my material as a thanks. So she thanked me for that. It was valuable information for her. For me, it was just coffee and fun, and I
Right.
was happy to help. She took my material, placed it on the desk of her agent, the day before he received a call from a French casting director shooting a movie in France with a Danish star who had a one scene with her husband, who was also supposed to be Danish.
Okay.
So I got called in Denmark from this new Irish agent
What?
about auditioning, putting myself on tape for a French movie with a Danish star. That all came out of me going to Ireland, and so
On a whim, more or less.
and I
right?
could then I could tell this to everyone in the industry there. I'm auditioning for this movie. I'm doing this. I'm in the game, and so all of this, it brings on clout for me because I'm being progressive. I'm landing auditions, and people ask, okay, so what? How do I get the auditions? How do I get
Right.
these jobs? Because as you said, the audition is a game. Like, you need to go to the job. The audition is a job interview. So if
Right.
I don't do the job interview, I'm not going to get the job.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Rarely. So, right? So, basically, the whole idea is, well, you can't just focus on the job interview. You need to sometimes forget the pursuit of the actual job. Because if I had gone
Right.
to Ireland and I had just been like, I just need to think about the job and go to auditions and get them to hire me, I got nothing out of that.
Right.
The
right.
place I got the chance for this job interview was through a networking event and through helping somebody else.
Right.
Because helping doesn't cost me anything. And when it doesn't cost me anything, there's no pressure. I'm just doing it.
Right.
And so a lot of the times you're putting stuff out there and, sometimes you get something back, which
Right.
was the case here.
Right.
And I think that, so after this event, I didn't book this particular job, but the agent liked what I did.
Right.
I had a chance to impress him as well with my work, and he back pocketed me, or side pocketed me. So basically, he took me on without having a contract and submitted me for a couple of other projects. And to this day, we're still in touch.
Right.
Now I got Danish representation. I don't need two agents, so we decided it was better for us to part ways. But we're still in touch for any possible future
Right. A
projects.
friendly industry contact, I guess.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And valuable, because if it wasn't for him, I hadn't gotten the chance to do the audition.
Right.
So
I do feel there's something else I want. Let me.
so that was just like
Right.
pursuing the dream, and also, just to recap, also like playing yourself in different markets. If you feel, when I feel like I'm getting stiff and stagnating in my
right.
own
You
market,
feel the pressure of
Yeah.
the spot you're in right
yeah,
now. Right.
the pushing, feeling like I'm grasping for attention or grasping for the next job, the
Right,
need,
right.
I
Right, the
think that's what you're
neediness,
talking about
right,
when you call
right.
need, right?
Right.
Then I can going out and going into other markets is a stimulating way of regrouping.
Right. So, but let me get your take on this though, because this all kind of ties back in with the anecdote I guess I told about my earliest auditions over here. But I will say this though, the first time I received an audition, it was the first audition, and I was like, I really want this role, right? It was like a fantasy feature, so I want this. I really want this. So I asked my neighbor back then, lived in another place. He's an actor too, but so I asked him, hey, can you help me with this audition? Right? We spent an entire day just rehearsing. And we spent half a day just. I think we shot like 10 takes of it or something like that. And I got it.
Awesome.
But I think it's fair to say that if I hadn't put in that effort,
Yeah.
I would have not gotten it.
No, exactly.
Right.
So effort is something that you need to put in.
But even though I needed it, right? I really wanted it.
Yeah.
So it's but in other circumstances I'm like, I really want this, and then I don't get it. But so I guess what I'm saying is it's hard to put these things on a formula, right? Because if you and I had been a little more delusional, we would have said that because you helped that chick out, you
So
met.
like we are delusional.
We are,
but I love that
right,
paradigm.
right.
I love the paradigm is
Of course
we are
actors,
delusional.
right?
So,
Yeah.
but if we have been more delusional,
Right. If we've been unreasonably
We've been-
delusional,
we've
right?
been
Right.
really-
No, you would have said if you'd been unreasonably delusional,
Right,
even
right.
more so than you are right now.
Unreasonably
You would have told the audience watching this right now that the reason you're a successful actor is because you help people. You just reach out to other people and you help them. Right?
Yeah.
And that's like, and you would have made up some weird theory about how the universe works. I believe in that. I help people.
I do feel tempted to do that.
Right.
I do feel tempted because I
Right.
go to say, I said, because I helped her,
Right.
something happened to me. But I think I
But you
also
didn't
said,
expect it anything.
no,
Right.
I think I also, I don't. I think I also said that sometimes you get something back.
Right.
You're
That's
not
what you said.
guaranteed. So
That is
you
what
help
said,
when you
right.
help. There is no guarantee.
Right.
That
And that shouldn't
that
be
I
the
think-
motivation for
and
helping.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's what I think is the difference between and putting it as a sort of a credo, a rule for life that
Right.
if you just help, then good things will happen to you.
Right.
No. Life is brutal. You
Right.
will help, and bad things will happen to you.
Right.
But the chances are, it's really about statistics.
Yeah. Oh, it
All of
is.
this.
Yeah.
It really is about statistics. The chances are that better things will happen to you if you help other people. That is the truth.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because then
Yeah.
now we're in a different okay. It's not like a rule like all I have to do is that, which some people love because it gives them, you know what?
That's
it
what
gives them
everybody is looking for. You know
A
what
rule?
I mean? Right. Right.
A rule
right.
to live by so they don't have to think about their lives
secret,
anymore?
A secret. There's a reason why the book called The Secret is the second most sold.
Wait a minute. There's a book called The Secret, and I don't own it.
Because this guy's an actor. He's full of it, just for the record. Right.
Don't talk to them.
Right. But no. Yeah. Okay. But let's talk about the stuff that we can put on formula. Right.
Okay.
Because you didn't just wake up and became an actor. Right.
No.
You have worked extremely hard.
Some people would say that I have worked extremely hard.
You have worked extremely hard.
Okay.
Right. You have.
Aska
right?
says I worked extremely hard. I thank you. Well, I thank you for that. Some of it has definitely not been as hard as I wanted it to be, but I can also say that knowing the industry in LA and also in Denmark that the work ethics of actors are vary from anywhere from doing nothing, literally only not even having written down their resume, but
Right.
literally just talking about in conversation over snacks and drinks
Right.
about what they could do to how they could do it, and then people that do nothing but breathe and eat and sleep acting.
Right.
So
So
literally waking up with Shakespeare monologues and
right.
going to bed
It is.
in character.
It is so amazing, and I think that's unique to Los Angeles. I suspect that it is. Probably not entirely, but I think it's extreme over here. So recently I just casted my first project.
Oh yeah.
As a casting director, right?
Oh, okay.
Which is for a business, and I can talk about that on this channel. I will talk about that on this channel in another video, but I can tell you about it later because we only just said hi and then we sat down in
Interesting.
these chairs.
Is there anything in it for me?
You're in it right now.
This is it!
Surprise!
Surprise! Oh my God!
Right. Well, you kind of are actually, but
Yeah.
that's a different
I
story.
know, no,
but
I know.
but it was really interesting to me. So I had a little over 150 submissions, right, for my projects.
Uh-huh.
2 projects, actually a couple projects. But so from that I called in, I think like half of those for auditions.
Yep.
And 3 people showed up physically. 3 people.
So you called in 75 people,
Right. 3
and
people.
3 people showed
3
up.
people showed up. So just for the record, so 5 or 6 did have the courtesy to say, I can't make it. Can I please self-submit? And then I asked all the people that asked that to self-submit, and then some people that I couldn't squeeze into the actual physical auditions. So I sent out requests for video auditions, which is very normal in this industry as well. And you want to take stab at how many video submissions I
Received?
got so far? Yeah,
2.
0.
0.
0.
That was pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yet an
Yet
infinity,
right. Infinitely
off, right?
off.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They still have a few days actually, some of them, to submit those auditions. But that's the thing, right? I feel like, and I think that's a very important point for us to get across here, because for you and I, it's obvious. We know that when you're a foreigner that go to a different country, you're in a foreign country, and you even have the audacity to pursue one of the hardest and most prestigious and backstabbing career. Not that the career isn't backstab, but the environment in which it takes place kind of is, right? Yeah. So you and I know that we need to have our shit together, right? If we don't stand a chance, right? That's just a given. I don't even know anything about like your audition practices and stuff like that. You know, that's
Yeah.
like, we haven't even talked about it. I just know that if you audition, if you submit for something, you show up to the audition, right?
Yeah.
Right. I screwed it up once.
I don't think
I have screwed it up.
I might have done it once for a project where I did submit and then didn't show up. I know, but I honestly don't think I have.
Right.
I do know that I have submitted myself, gotten called into auditions, and then afterwards found out this is not for me, or I had other auditions come in that I preferred, that I had to prioritize, and I sent messages and canceled.
I've done it a couple times too, but that's the thing, right? If people keep me in the loop, just tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so that's one of the problems, is that when you have a group of very, very flaky people that do not like. But
why are they flaky in the first place?
Well, an interesting thing or experience that I had in my life was I was born and raised in Copenhagen, right?
Right.
But when I was 20, I moved to a smaller city in Denmark called Aarhus.
Right.
And I remember that one of the interesting things was that in Aarhus, I would meet the same people more often.
Right.
And so I found out, and I was wondering, and at the same time, I also experienced that everybody in the shops and the stores, they talk to you nicer. And over time, I correlated those two things, because the more often you meet the same people, the nicer you have to be, because your relationship with them will have a greater impact on your life.
In a sense. Right, okay.
Right, so in Copenhagen, you don't meet people as often, so the people in the stores could be dicks to you. So they could literally be like,
they can,
they could
and
not
they,
care,
and they are,
and they would not, and they are, and they will not run into you, so they don't care.
Right.
But so the creation of relationships is like that, and in LA, it's a vast industry compared to any other place on the planet, with approximately, they say, 50,000 new actors come in each year.
Right.
50,000.
But that being said, Andreas, a few people run the show here, right? If you step the wrong guy over the toes, right? You're just out of the game, right?
Right. So next time when you audition people and do the casting call, you need to build your own image up as importantly as possible, which you also see that a lot of the projects will call in, projects with no pay, but they will boost the hell out of the producers and the directors, and his former project made the
blah blah blah.
Well, and because that's just the mark of our industry. Reputation, particularly in this industry, is super important. Your reputation is everything.
Right.
If you have somebody approaching you with a project, you want to know exactly what kind of reputation do they have. Like you approached me with this project. To me, you have a good reputation, and you've always been, treated me well, and I think you have some clever ideas, and I think if you wanted to share those ideas with the world, I think they should listen.
Right, and I'm not even listening to what you're saying right now. From my perspective, you've been pursuing a dream in a dedicated manner, and you've been doing what it takes, not just following that dream specifically and focused, but also what you need to do beyond that, right? Because sometimes you need a corporate job for a little while, but you've actually been pretty much circumventing that. But I want to we have to talk about so much more stuff, but I
Okay.
need to take a piss, and you probably do as well.
Oh my God! Did he just say that
Yeah,
on
that's
air?
very Scandinavian.
Wow. We're taking a break, guys, and
And we're back.
Ah,
Cheers. Yeah.
cheers.
And okay, so again, so we just agreed in the kitchen on making this second half purely inspirational, right?
Purely inspirational.
No, but honestly,
This is
like,
the diamond,
like-
the diamond of the podcast. It comes to you glittering now.
there he is stealing the spotlight, right? So is that
You put the camera closer to me,
I did,
and
right,
you're
yeah.
upstaging me, by the way. So if I'm looking here, people can only see
Upstage,
this. That's all
upsell. Right. Okay.
Motivation.
Motivation. Right. Okay, but all jesting aside, right? I'm really interested in here because you like when you're wrapped up in your own life, it's really impossible, almost per definition, to see it objectively, right? But let me just
Right.
tell you this: but watching your life objectively, you're living the dream. You had a dream of becoming an actor, and you are a working actor right now, and you've been acting in Los Angeles and for years, right? For
I have
10 years,
10 years.
10 years plus.
10 years. 10 years. Well,
years,
now it's
more or
going to be
less.
plus when I'm coming back and you know, doing an exchange.
Plus the loose change, I guess. But now you're doing it in Denmark, which is a much smaller scene,
Yeah.
hard to break into, but yet you've done it.
Yeah, well, not least because of my experience from LA, you know, playing the exotic factor and going out into it and say,
Right.
hey, you know, I can do this. And I think also, like, work begets work. So, and motivation begets motivation also, right? So, like,
Unless you rest on the laurels, of course.
exactly. But this is the thing that actually,
Let's hear
well,
it.
I didn't think about quoting this, and I would love to just say, you know, have my own words on the podcast. But
Right.
if somebody said something that's really well said, and you know, let them have credit. So
Sure.
I can't even remember the guy's name, but I just wanted to say I didn't make this up.
Right.
But I did have a side job before I came into the acting world. I had a side job as a salesman in Denmark.
What do you sell?
I sold kitchens
Okay. Cool. Right.
for a year,
Right.
and it actually helped me reveal to me what I needed to do with my life. It was definitely not me,
Right,
but
right.
that's a different story. But we had a meeting, and we had a motivational speech by it was a recording, audio recording, and I don't, to this day I don't remember the guy's name, but he was like an experienced salesperson. I've been in sales all his life, and he said the most important quality for a salesman or saleswoman is self-ignition.
Self-ignition.
Yes, the ability to ignite yourself,
Right. To fire yourself up.
to
Basically.
fire yourself up,
Right.
basically.
Right.
And I mean, it sounds so simple, but there was something in the way that he said that. We talk about being motivated, being happy, have a lot of energy.
Right, right.
But he kind of caught the moment right before, which is like you have the energy, you have the potential, but it's
just
like
need to
it's like
ignite it.
firewood.
Right,
it's
right.
it's potentially can burn, but you need to ignite it. So what is it that makes us turn on?
Right. So,
Right? So how
so
do you
please
turn
tell
yourself
us.
on?
How do you turn yourself on?
How do I turn- Well,
No. But serious, Andreas.
Well-
So other than the
well,
basic trick,
I
we
turned
both
myself
use,
on.
like,
Well, okay,
excessive
so
amounts
so
of coffee,
yeah, right.
obviously.
So we had a lot of coffees. Now we're talking a little bit
a
faster,
little bit faster.
right? So how do I turn myself on? Well, there are all these kind of ways of doing that, and taking techniques and finding out yourself what motivates you,
Right.
whatever. But I think the whole thing is the more you do it, the better you become at it.
Right.
Right. So
Unquestionably.
in the sense that it doesn't really matter maybe so much exactly how you do it. There's no like secret way. Like, please don't ask me what's the secret. You know,
Right.
you know,
Right,
it's like there is no one way. But the whole thing is, the better I become at constantly working on myself in that igniting myself. What is it that how do I turn myself on in this situation, and how do I do that, and then just keep on going? It becomes better, so that when and this you learn in Los Angeles. You learn that in this market because there's so much competition. Right.
Super competitive.
Super
Right.
competitive, and people are extremely fast thinkers and talkers, and deals are made so quickly and
Sometimes under the table and
sometimes
right.
under the table. When I went to an acting class, I went back to my old coach, and I also went to another coach that I had for a long time. And I was in class, and I was surprised at how much information came over the table at once, like in such a short time, comparatively to Denmark,
Right.
where people will talk much longer and much more elaborately, but never really make any decisions and never really get to the point.
All talk, no action. Right. That's a very square way
extreme.
of putting it, but
the Danes are famous for it, you know.
I didn't even.
It
know
has its roots.
that they were, but
Well, they are, because in Denmark we have social democracy, and
Right.
so we have a sensation of the democratic system actually permeating a lot of our culture, and the decisions made isn't so much. I mean, collectively, not so much top down, but collectively, which makes for structures in the work and social market of people having to have meetings all the time to make sure that
right.
they're on the
And
same page.
paired with the fact that it's still a highly individualistic culture.
Right.
Because it is.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of social science behind this, but it is. But it's just not competitive. But because of the structure you described,
Yeah.
and the fact that people are still highly individualistic,
Right.
Like people are just allowed to. Oh yes, but on the other hand, don't cut me off. Let me finish. And yes, you might say that blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, oh God, do we constantly have to weigh everything? Just make a decision, execute, right?
Yeah.
That's honestly, but oh my God, right?
I know.
Yeah, right, but no, but and I want to get back to what the juicy stuff, and the juicy stuff is that once upon a time,
Yeah.
you were a little kid running around in Copenhagen, right? And
Okay.
you had a dream to become an actor. I don't know, but can you just like outline that? Can you boil it down to like when did that thought first occur in your mind?
Well, I know exactly when that occurred. I was in middle school, and I was not doing well socially. I was very quiet. I had a hard time getting friends and functioning in the group.
Right.
And at the same time, my mom took me to plays. So she wanted to educate me with the theater. We went, saw plays. I went and saw Hamlet, I think at
Right.
the age of 10 or 11 or so. And I grew very fond of theater as a place where here you know what to say. There is sort of like a perfect way of living where you don't have to, worry about what to do now or
Negotiate
say
social
now.
situations
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it was the pressure of the group of socializing
Right.
was weighed heavily on my shoulders.
The pressure of socializing. Right. No, but that's
Yeah.
it's
Well, we have it
interesting,
today.
right?
I mean, today it's very obvious through the digital way of socializing, which
Right.
is basically, people say social media, right? But it's like the digital idea of my place in the group depends on how many likes I get on my posts.
Right.
And
Please
if
like and subscribe, by the way.
If
Completely ruining your point.
very subtle, very subtle.
Right.
Very subtle.
Right.
And so if this girl that's very popular likes my picture, then
Oh my God, she
in
liked
school,
my
then
picture.
I'm doing
Oh
really
my
great.
God. Right.
But those
Right.
things were in effect back then too, because if that girl had mentioned something positive about your choice of a sweater,
Right.
then that meant a lot.
Right.
So
I
it was
remember how that
exactly the
was.
same.
Right.
And in the theater, it was like you knew what to say. So I was drawn towards that as sort of a place where I just saw myself being able to, or felt that this is potentially where I can just be myself.
Right.
Strange.
That's
when it
That's
started.
very interesting. I think many actors have that. I've heard that before. maybe even as a little voice inside my own head. Like I can really be myself here.
Yeah.
Ironically, pretending like I'm someone else. Right.
And ironically, also realizing that it's much, much harder than you think, because once
really
you
hard.
know what it is that you have to say, you now have to make it sound like you're just making it up.
Right.
So
Right.
it becomes much harder because you don't have the freedom to just make stuff up like I'm doing
Right.
it now.
Yes.
So, and you have to expose your own vulnerability way more when you're on stage to make it work. So all of my theories as an 11-year-old backfired
Right.
back onto me.
And here you are.
And
right?
here I am.
Stuck
So,
in the swamp of acting.
Stuck in the
right?
swamp of acting.
Right.
Slowly figuring it out.
But let's.
But I'm actually
Right.
an 11-year-old now.
Right.
I'm actually an 11-year-old now. Do you know why?
Is that like your LA age or?
Yeah.
No. Let's hear why. Right.
But
Let
that's
me hear
exactly
it.
what it is. Because I came out to LA after having done various things in my life, some creatively, and I did have some experience with acting for that. But picking it up from LA from 2007, and now we're 2019, right? So 11, 12 years old.
Right.
Is how I see myself in the idea that I'm not even a teenager yet. I'm still holding on to my parents. I'm still holding on to these things, but I'm feeling that the world is bigger. I'm seeing how my coaches will die off, just like an 11-year-old is also realizing, oh, my parents are going to die.
My folks are going to die.
You
at
know,
some point.
so you're getting, there will come a time when I need to carry the torch.
Right.
So this kind of maturity, and I think comes from the experience of working over time in your field.
Right.
That you can have like this the work child, or your whatever it is that your devotion is in life.
Right.
You can almost see it grow as a child grows.
Right. I agree with that, and I think the traveling in a tangible sense of the word, but also in a metaphorical sense, helps you do that.
Yeah.
Like so I like a month and a half ago, I went 2 days to Texas for a conference there, right? That was like my first time in Texas. It didn't really see a whole lot of things, but I spoke to some people and stayed in a new hotel room and stuff. It was just that whole, and then coming back and looking back, doing the acting game and all that. It was like, oh man, it just always gives you a fresh perspective on things. Just if you can see yourself objectively, obviously that's impossible due to the nature of objectivity and you being you and etc.
Well, that's the question,
You know what
if
I
you can
mean?
actually see yourself objectively ever. Like, are you able to
Right.
catch yourself thinking, or is that just a thought?
I think I stumbled on some stuff that I wrote years back, not that long ago. I think it had been so long that I did almost read it entirely objectively.
Mm-hmm.
It was shocking, but it was also interesting. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, this is what's... Even the project I was telling you about, where I was casting people, stepping into the role as a casting director. I'm like, oh my God, this actor's profile is so horrible. And I was like, yeah, that's just like mine. You know what I mean? I need to change that right now. So looking at other people.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean,
but okay. So I'm sorry. I went out on a tangent, but I want to return to. So there's a huge difference from an 11-year-old kid, which is, or your mom dragged you to the theater. You were 11.
right.
But here you are, right? Much later. We don't
Much
have to
later.
disclose your physical age if you don't
Thank
want
you.
to. Right? 29, right? 29 forever, bro. Right? Yeah, late 20s, right? But
Yeah, that's easy.
like, but honestly, if you were
That's a whole other topic. I have a lot of
right, that is
opinions
a
on
whole
that.
other
All right.
topic.
But
No,
it's true. Now I'm here. Now I'm living that dream.
Right. What would you do differently? What advice would you give to yourself as a 1-year-old actor? Say you were 21, you'd been in
Yeah.
LA for 1 year. If you could travel back 11 years, I guess, and tell yourself, "Wake up, man!" Or what would you tell yourself?
Right when I got to town, nothing. Really nothing comes to mind. I
Right.
think that I put myself in there so much just trying to do my best and just pursuing my heart and my dream in what I wanted to do. I knew that I would run into a lot of challenges. I knew that I would not be able to always justify or explain myself and why I was doing what I was doing.
Right.
But I also felt that that I had done a lot of work on myself already, and gotten to the point where I felt that this was actually the best way that I could put myself in use to giving back. So it was always motivated from the perspective of, what can I give with my life?
Contribute with.
Contribute with, yeah.
Right.
How can I contribute best with my life? So that was actually the paradigm that I was building on when I made the decision to do it. And having explored different venues in my life before that, including the sales job, helped me carve out the different, like having tried different venues and said that does not work,
Right.
for different reasons. This was the one thing that would work. I thought. So when I came to LA, I mean, obviously I wasn't clear about it. I wasn't sure about it, but I was pursuing my dream more fervently and more awake than I had been before.
Right.
And I can't really imagine that I could say much to my then self, except for, if I could reveal exactly how the technology would develop, or
Right.
you should have worked on, creating digital images, or what am I talking about? Like
Whatever. Yeah,
social media profiles way before. I mean, obviously,
Right.
duh. But the way to handle it as a person and to do it.
No, I want your comments
nothing.
on, because a lot of people say don't put all your eggs in one basket, and I'm not necessarily a big proponent of that idea.
No.
But at the same time, I play on so many horses, so to speak,
Yeah.
at the same time, right? And I find that it's working out. No, some of the horses are obviously in better shape than others.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but be that as it may, it seems to me that what you're saying is that you've actually put all your eggs in one basket.
Well, in the sense of saying I've done with my life goal, and saying this is what I want to pursue, and I'm going to try as hard as I can. And the only thing that's going to deter me is that if one day something tells me that I shouldn't be doing it, like
Right.
I'm putting it out there that I'm not in control of stopping this.
Right.
I'm actually saying no to controlling it, and just saying this is what I'm doing.
Right.
And I think that was a great choice,
Right.
because I said I am an actor. I had to put those words in my mouth, and that was difficult in the beginning.
I remember. Right.
I am an actor. This is what I'm doing. I'm actually doing it. Oh my God, I'm actually here. I'm actually doing it.
I'm an actor.
Yeah.
Actor. Yeah, I'm an actor.
And so now, rehearsing that line, I'm an actor, over the years became more and more fluid, and now it's like, I'm an actor.
That's all I had for you in this video. Unfortunately, Andreas and I lost the last 3-4 minutes of this interview, but I just want to say thanks for watching this video, and I am gonna, first of all, improve my technical skills for the next interview, and I am gonna interview a lot of interesting people here on Spiritual Capitalism, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Have a good one. Cheers.